SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome in. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us, for starting your day with us. Still dark outside, but for much longer, we'll have light about this time of day.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. And light later in the evenings.
Oh, that's going to be so nice.
It really is a nice transition. When does that change? What are we?
Let me look it up.
3 weeks away? Daylight savings? Daylight savings
March
2026, March 8th.
Yep. Come on, March 8th.
That is during spring break for most people this time of year.
I forget about that. Like, spring break exists.
Yeah. I did
Youngsters.
for a long time and then had kids, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is a thing on the calendar.
Any plans for the break?
Yes, we do have plans. Sure do. We're going skiing.
Oh, so that's why you were so invested.
Oh man, I'm locked in on the forecasts right now.
Well, I'm glad I didn't let you down. The Euro model is strong.
You crushed it. Are we following the European model right now?
Oh man, yeah, that thing's awesome.
Okay,
I mean it gets you down to the striations and layers, and you can get within about 10 feet of where something's going. It seems.
Yeah.
So far, it hadn't let me down.
I will say there was a significant amount of debate in my house about whether or not skiing was still the right thing to do on the heels of all of the ice.
Right.
James said, can we go somewhere warm? But sticking with it.
You're locked and loaded, huh?
I mean, it's going to be fairly warm where we are today across the state of Mississippi. Oxford going to be cloudy. Slight chance of a rain shower with a high of 76. It's going to remain windy, though, like it has for much of the week. South-southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Overcast for you in Kosciuszko with a slight chance of a shower. 79 for your high today. 10 to 20 mile-an-hour winds out of the southwest. 82 in Mendenhall. Cloudy early, but some partial sunshine expected later in the day. A little bit of a chance of rain for you there. Again, 10 to 20 miles per hour out of the south and southwest. And then you go a little farther south all the way to the coast, and it's actually a little cooler today in Pascagoula. Cloudy skies, slight chance of rain, 73 for the high with those winds at 10 to 15. I mean, it has been for 3 days now, just steady, windy.
Got to enjoy it. I mean, it's been so cold. Now you've gotten kind of the little warm breeze blowing, right? It's not out of the north. Everything seems to be coming out of the south. You can tell things are warming up a little bit. We'll get slapped with that cold spell at some point, but you know, it is nice to have a 20-mile-an-hour little warm breeze blowing through what's left of my hair.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's nice stuff.
Yeah. Keeps you...
Don't freeze your butt off. I mean, that cold wind out of the north, I was getting tired of it. I'll be honest with you.
It'll get you.
Bundled up on the back porch.
It'll get you in a hurry. Nicholas Copernicus was born on this day in 1473. I'm sure his parents were proud. Turned out to be. You know, if they weren't right out of the gate, they would be later. He became a revolutionary astronomer and mathematician who proposed the heliocentric model of the solar system, fundamentally changing our understanding of the universe. How do you think he came up with that idea?
I mean, I'm not sure, but he's probably a pretty smart guy. Knew some math, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe didn't he have a telescope?
Probably.
Looked up and saw stuff going in circles and went like, okay.
Yeah, but when you're standing still, how do you realize that they're going in circles?
Well, I mean, I guess you watch the stars, right? For generations and eons, people watch the stars, and they disappear, and then they come back again the next day. And
it's like, hold
on, how does that work?
What's going on here? We've got to explain this. I wonder what the school science projects were like before Copernicus came along.
They got like a rock and brought it. And it was like, hey, I found this.
But in that, everybody had to make a solar system at some point.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Before him, they were like, there's a rock here. This is Gaia or Earth. And now you've got to start coming up with all these other planets. Remember, the 24-year-old had found Pluto yesterday on this day in history.
Yeah, a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro, acclaimed actor known for his roles in films like Traffic, won an Oscar for that. The Usual Suspects, Sicario, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Great soundtrack.
Oh, it is.
Whew.
We featured it a couple times on Buddy, on the Handyman in our music segment, and man, there's some just lights out songs on that soundtrack.
Highly recommend that as a record if you are a record person.
Nice.
Smokey Robinson was born on this day in 1940, the legendary Motown singer, songwriter, and producer, frontman of the Miracles, key figure in soul and R&B music with hits like Tracks of My Tears and Tears of a Clown. A lot of tears for Smokey Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Millie Bobby Brown, born in 2004, an actress and producer, rose to fame as 11 in Stranger Things. Lee Marvin. Born in 1924. The iconic actor famous for the tough guy roles in westerns and war films, including The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, The Dirty Dozen, and Cat Ballou. Won an Oscar for Cat Ballou.
Hey, this dude here, he was a real Marine, too. While serving, he, I think, 21 amphibious assaults on Japanese-held islands, was wounded. A real dude. And wasn't a big fan of John Wayne. Yeah, that was not his buddy.
In real life or just in the
just
movie?
Couldn't stand him. No, as a person.
Really?
Did not like him. They did not like each other very much. But Marvin was over the years pretty vocal about Wayne not being a real patriot. Played Patriots, but wasn't a real one. So,
yeah.
But I'm always a big Lee Marvin fan.
Jeff Daniels was born on this day in 1955. He's one of those guys that, well, I shouldn't say that because we all have our different political leanings, but for me, Jeff Daniels is one of those guys that I just prefer to think about as On the Moped and Dumb and Dumber, and I just laughed a lot. I don't really need his politics. He's a big Michigan guy. Tony Iommi, guitarist and the primary songwriter for Black Sabbath, widely regarded as the pioneer of heavy metal riffing. So you get into that heavy metal genre, you get the long guitar solos, just going after it. He was the leader. Seal, Grammy-winning singer and songwriter. He had some hits. Kiss from a Rose, Crazy, Fly Like an Eagle. That was your jam. And then Nikola Jokic, born on this day in 1995, the superstar NBA center for the Denver Nuggets. One of the most skilled big men in basketball history, one of the seemingly most normal guys. Like, he still goes back to his farm and just drinks beer in the summer. Multiple-time MVP. Can't stop him. Man, we get some interesting stuff that happened on this day in history. Today is the 19th of February. Love to hear from you this morning on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. CC in Senatobia, y'all's views on the wind tells me that Richard plays much more golf than Lance does.
I used to play a lot. I don't have time now.
Yeah. Jeff says he bought 7 kites yesterday for this weekend. Kids are visiting. The youngest one is 21. The oldest one is 30. You are as young as you feel. That is one of those toys that literally every age can enjoy. On this day, in 1600, long time ago, the Huaynaputina volcano in Peru erupted violently. It was one of the largest explosive eruptions in South American recorded history, caused widespread devastation, global climate cooling effects, including crop failures in the northern hemisphere, considered among the most powerful volcanic events of the last 500 years. Today in 1847, the first rescue party reaches the Donner Party, a group of American pioneers trapped by heavy snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains during the winter of 1846-47. The infamous ordeal involved starvation, reports of cannibalism among the survivors. This marked the beginning of multiple rescue efforts and saved some, but highlighted the perils of westward expansion. Bookmark that story, because we're going to come back to it, but in a different way, later this morning. Glad to be with you. Just getting started. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
You get the news first. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi, and the Super Talk app.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away.
1878, Thomas Edison patented the phonograph, the first device capable of recording and reproducing sound. The invention revolutionized music, communication, and entertainment, laying the groundwork for the modern recording industry. You could say also for the modern radio industry.
Yeah, that's the starting point right
it's
there.
It's all tied together. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tom. We appreciate it. A massive tornado outbreak strikes the southern United States on this day in 1884. Get this, more than 60 tornadoes touched down over the course of 2 days. February 19th and 20th remains one of the largest and deadliest tornado outbreaks in U.S. history at the time, killing hundreds and destroying communities across multiple states. Today in 1942, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was he the president that we most frequently say his middle name?
Yeah, he's the one where it kind of starts with him, right? I guess you don't really hear
I mean, how often do you say, former President William Jefferson Clinton? It's like you either get Franklin Delano Roosevelt or FDR. Not much in between. Anyway, signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the forced relocation and internment of over 120,000 Japanese Americans, mainly U.S. citizens, during World War II. It was an extremely controversial policy driven by wartime fears, and it led to widespread injustice and later former apologies and reparations that happened along the way. Can you imagine a Democrat president doing that now?
Absolutely not.
Whoo! It was today. We talked about yesterday kind of the build-up to Iwo Jima. Today, 1945, United States Marines launch the Battle of Iwo Jima in World War II, landing on the Japanese-held island. The brutal month-long campaign, one of the bloodiest of the Pacific Theater, resulted in a key strategic victory, but at a very high cost. Nearly 7,000 American lives, over 20,000 Japanese deaths. Produced the iconic flag-raising photograph.
Isn't it Mount Suribachi? Isn't that the right name for that? I'm trying to think. But as the ships pull in and they start hammering that mountain, trying to get the Japanese out, and they're embedded deep into the caves and things that they had built and dug in. The sight of that mountain after the bombardment was just absolutely it just blows your mind at how much ordnance was unleashed, and the Japanese were still there.
Yeah.
Because it looked like Swiss cheese after that. And then the Americans, after winning, obviously the battle wasn't over, climb up with fire still going off everywhere, and put the flag up, which is one of the most iconic shots of anything ever in the history of mankind.
No doubt. The Pacific Theater was horrific.
I mean, it was basically just D-Day after D-Day. You had to keep landing and keep landing and keep landing and keep taking over these small islands where you had no real idea what
and
was
even
there.
If you're ultimately victorious, getting on the island, creating the landing, not going to be easy.
No.
And you're not going to do it. Surprise. Today in 1986, the Soviet Union launched the Mir space station into orbit. As the first modular space station, it operated for 15 years, hosting international crews and advancing long-duration spaceflight research before deorbiting in 2001. Just never was quite the same after Bruce Willis boarded it. Yeah.
The Russian guy up there, he was a little crazy.
He was crazy. Little cray-cray. Fidel Castro officially stepped down as president of Cuba in 2008 after nearly 49 years in power. No discussion about term limits in Cuba. Handing leadership over to his brother Raul. No discussion about nepotism either. And ending an era in Cuban politics. Two more for you. Pedro Lascarain becomes president of Mexico for 45 minutes in 1913, but it was calculated. It was the shortest term in presidential world history. He took office intentionally as part of a political maneuver during the Mexican Revolution, resigned shortly after appointing his successor. There you go. And then he stepped down. All right, so I got an idea. I'm electable. You're not. I don't want to be president. You do. Let me be president, and then I'll just appoint it to you. Deal? Deal. I guess you got to trust your friend if you're going to do it that way.
Yeah, they weren't using Dominion voting machines back then.
They were not. And finally, in 1913, Cracker Jack boxes first included prizes inside, turning the caramel popcorn treat into an iconic American snack with a surprise gimmick that boosted its popularity for generations. Harry Carey tells a great story about a Cracker Jack box. I'll see if I can dig that out for you before the next segment. News headlines this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Months after insisting that Mississippi is not a desirable landing spot for minority college athletes, prominent sports commentator Stephen A. Smith is making a trip to Oxford. Smith announced yesterday that he is foregoing a trip to Madison Square Garden for a New York Knicks game on Thursday to instead spend some time at Ole Miss. The ESPN personality and maybe kind of potential 2028 presidential candidate will be in attendance at the Ole Miss women's basketball game against LSU tonight. This is what he said yesterday. When the college football season was going on and there was some stuff happening with Lane Kiffin and all that stuff, as you know, I talked some mess about Ole Miss, Oxford, Mississippi, and stuff like that. Those folks dared me to come down there, and I promised them that I would, so I am showing up tomorrow night. I will be in Oxford, Mississippi. You may remember that it was Yolette McEwen, or Coach Yo, if you prefer, that jumped on the things that Stephen A. Smith said negatively about Oxford and Ole Miss and pushed back on the narrative. She appeared on his radio show on Sirius XM back in mid-January, advocating for Ole Miss, highlighting that her greatest obstacle in recruiting is overcoming a preconceived notion that Mississippi is stuck in a troubled past before a prospective player even arrives on campus. But when a recruit ultimately makes it to Oxford, the 8th-year Ole Miss coach says the place sells itself as a vibrant community filled with love and acceptance. Stephen A. was moved by Coach Yo's words and decided that he wanted to see what Ole Miss was about, up close and personal. And so he is making his way. Ole Miss and LSU top 20 showdown in women's college basketball tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Both of them 8-4 in SEC play. Suppose all is well that ends well?
Yeah, I mean, he'll have a good time. We know that.
I mean, changing one mind at a time?
I think it's pretty cool that he's, getting off the seat and heading down there and checking it out for himself.
And, I would have thought that would have been like, all right, I'll come for a football game in the fall. Didn't do that. Coming down for a women's basketball game. He's a big basketball guy. Always has been. Defense technology company Firehawk Aerospace is locating a manufacturing operation in Lowndes County, starting with a $16.5 billion corporate investment that was announced yesterday. Man, they do some cool stuff. Firehawk, a U.S. defense technology company that uses advanced additive manufacturing to produce scalable rocket motors, 3D printed propellant, and other propulsion systems, replacing outdated World War II era manufacturing methods so as to modernize and strengthen the defense supply chain. That's how they describe themselves on their company website. They got a 636-acre facility in Crawford, which will be home to the first Mississippi manufacturing facility for the company and serve as its rocket system integration site. The investment expected to create about 100 jobs in Lowndes County. Their CEO, Will Edwards, said Mississippi stood out to us because of its pro-industry leadership, deep talent pool, and commitment to advanced manufacturing. As Firehawk works to modernize and scale rocket production in the U.S. for defense, we look for partners who move with urgency and clarity, and we found that here. This facility will play a critical role in strengthening national security while creating high-impact technical jobs in the region. MDA helping out through the Mississippi Flexible Tax Incentive Program. Time out. When we come back, a couple of more news headlines, and then we will get into your morning sports update. It's MRC on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Seabrook Dot.
With Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 19th of February, alongside all of you. We appreciate you joining us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. C Spire is helping you stretch your tax refund farther this year with great deals. What is it, up to 3 Vices plus a bonus item with 100 gigabits of data for just $100 a month? And that's for new and existing customers. Look out. Learn more online at cspire.com. cspire, customer inspired.
You were right yesterday. Those deals, man, they're strong right now.
Yes, sir. Medal of Honor recipient John Basilone and half the flag raisers were killed before the Battle of Iwo Jima was over.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how many of them had passed, but yeah, the battle was raging as they were doing that.
CC in Senatobia, that poor Russian in that space station all by himself. It's like they told him, you can have the frog poison or go sit on the space station by yourself.
Yeah, that's basically prison, you know.
Mm-hmm. Although they give you stuff to do, I guess.
They keep you busy with some bells and whistles. Keep your eyes on.
Mississippi health officials have launched a new statewide system to ensure pregnant women, especially those with high-risk pregnancies, get to the right hospital as quickly as possible. The Mississippi State Department of Health announced on Wednesday that the State Board of Health approved final rules for the obstetrics system of care, which took effect February 13th, creating a framework to coordinate emergency response and hospital care for expectant mothers and their babies. The OB system of care is the state's fourth coordinated medical network, joining existing systems for heart attacks, strokes, and trauma. And according to the health department, Mississippi is the first state to operate 4 such systems. Dr. Dan Edney, the state health officer, chimed in on this. He says, if we can get a mom and her baby to the right level of care as quickly as possible, it will undoubtedly save lives. When completely built out, this system will activate the moment a 911 call is made. Added that the system will help identify women with high-risk factors early and coordinate transportation to the most appropriate hospital, even if it's not the closest facility. So it's going to be collaboration and cooperation among and between doctors, nurses, EMS, hospitals, community health workers, and organizations. Sounds good. Good luck with the implementation of that. I don't say that flippantly. It sounds like a wonderful thing for Mississippi. Dr. Edney, man, he is really, really focused and driven right now on infant mortality rates, the obesity rates, the health factors that are affecting so many Mississippians. Finally, in your news headlines, Mississippi native and Hollywood legend Morgan Freeman is bringing the symphonic blues experience to Jackson. Performance is scheduled for the 27th of March, 7 o'clock. Say the name of that theater, Lance, for me.
The Thalia-Mara?
Okay.
Yeah, thank goodness it's back open. And
yeah.
ready to go. I heard it looks good. I've been there so many times. I'm going to be at this one, I can assure you.
Yeah?
Yeah, you don't miss something like that.
I want to report afterward. It's featuring the Mississippi Symphony Orchestra alongside various blues musicians. According to Visit Mississippi, the show blends symphonic arrangements with blues storytelling deeply rooted in the Magnolia State. Of course, Morgan Freeman, co-founder alongside Bill Luckett with Ground Zero Blues Club in Clarksdale and then in Biloxi. It's the creative force behind the productions. The show highlights the state's musical heritage through narration, visuals, and live performance. The tour spans multiple cities, aiming to showcase Mississippi as the birthplace of America's music, trying to connect audiences with the blues genre's cultural impact. Right now, Jackson's the only Mississippi-based tour stop.
It should be sold out, folks. If you have an opportunity to see that, you got to be there. And two of the greatest people I ever met in my life, I just taken two. Morgan Freeman and Bill Luckett. I had an opportunity to spend a New Year's with them many, many years ago.
At Ground Zero?
They're at Bill Luckett's place and then over at Ground Zero for the evening. They couldn't have been the nicest group of people associated with that crew that I've ever been around. And it always has been something that touched my heart because they didn't know me. I was just a little nobody. Yeah. But just rolling out the kindness and hospitality, you couldn't have been around a better group of people. And I've always Morgan Freeman, what a great guy, but Bill Luckett too. I mean, man, what a dude. Bill
became a dear friend. He and Francine, and Bill made a valiant run at governor, and decided that was something that he wanted to do. He believed in Mississippi. He believed in Clarksdale. He believed in the Delta, and he made a run at it. Sure did. Just a super guy. Gone way too soon.
Oh, definitely.
All right, scores from around the SEC in basketball last night as we bring you your morning sports update. It comes to you courtesy of Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Last night was spectacular in the SEC for basketball. I'm going to build to the best. Missouri 81, Vanderbilt 80. Two teams, likely NCAA tournament teams, but all kinds of bubble implications in that one. Missouri had a big lead. Vandy came storming back. Missouri holds on to win by 1 at home. Tennessee 89-66 over Oklahoma. Tennessee's pretty good. Playing good basketball right now. Let's go to College Station. Man, if you were an Ole Miss fan, this one last night really, really stung. Ole Miss had a 5-point halftime lead. They had a double-digit lead for much of the second half. Never could increase it much beyond 10. But A&M never quite got within, like, connecting distance in terms of swinging a punch. Ole Miss was able to keep them at arm's length until they did. A&M outscores Ole Miss 47-39 in the second half. Aggies win at 80-77. The losing streak for Ole Miss in conference play grows to 8. Ugh. It was a really good game, really entertaining game, but not the most entertaining game of the night. So let's go from, and again, I said we're going to do this in order of drama. It is a coin flip on this one. So we go from College Station to Tuscaloosa. Not one, but 2 overtimes in what arguably was the best college basketball game of the entire season last night between Arkansas and Alabama. Ultimately, it is Alabama that wins at home 117-115 after 50 minutes of basketball. The scoring in this game was incredible. Arkansas had 4 players in double figures. Trayvon Brazile had 11. Billy Richmond had 20. Malik Thomas had 24. And Darius Acuff Jr., the freshman guard, had 49 points. Alabama was led by LeBaron Philon's 35. Aiden Sherrill had 26. Amari Allen had 19. What a game. And Arkansas, Acuff missed a shot at the buzzer in second overtime, came off the rim. And they had a guy there that got 2 hands on the ball trying to dunk it to win it or send it to a third overtime. He just didn't get a good handle on the ball and lost it. And now from Tuscaloosa, we go west, just, an hour or so. Starkville, Mississippi. One of the greatest performances in Mississippi State basketball history last night. In the first half, Josh Hubbard outscored Auburn. He had 35 points at halftime. Auburn had 33. Mississippi State built an 18-point lead, and they lost it all. Trailed to Auburn with just a couple of minutes left, but a burst from the Bulldogs late, a 12-1 run late in the ball game, leads the Dogs over the Tigers 91-35. Josh Hubbard finishes with 46 points. In 39 minutes, he was 15 of 27 from the field, 10 of 16 from the three-point line, 6 of 9 from the free throw line. He also had 9 rebounds and 3 assists and 2 steals and not a single turnover. What a night for Josh Hubbard. Bulldogs have now won 2 in a row. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi, and the SuperTalk app.
Mississippi Lottery update for you. It's brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. Lotto America, no recent jackpot winner. The estimated jackpot for Saturday, $15.5 million. No jackpot winner in Powerball last night. Saturday's drawing up to $190 million with an estimated cash value of more than $89 million. Last night's numbers, 9, 33, 52, 64, 66 with a Powerball of 1. And Mega Millions, your next drawing is Friday night, $416 million. $193.1 million is the estimated cash value for that. Time running out for those two unclaimed $2 million winning tickets. A $2 million Mega Millions ticket that was purchased at Pilot Travel Center in Moss Point, and a $2 million Powerball ticket sold at Mike's Food and Gas in Coldwater have until tomorrow, February 20th, to claim $4 million. Find your tickets. You can check them at the with the official Mississippi Lottery app, or visit a Mississippi Lottery retailer and scan your ticket. Finally, the Mississippi Lottery is launching its newest draw game, Millionaire for Life, this Sunday. Starting Sunday, tickets go on sale for the inaugural drawing that night at 10:15. As the name implies, players have a chance to win $1 million a year for the rest of your life. Stop by your local or favorite Mississippi Lottery retailer starting Sunday, February 22nd. Get your Millionaire for Life tickets. Only takes one ticket to change your life. How cool would it be to win that?
Yeah, I'd just take the million once. I mean, if you're going to give it to me for life, I'm not going to.
You would have your very own Bobby Bonilla day. Let's go back and finish up our sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Had a bunch of blowouts in the SEC in baseball yesterday. Southern Miss was not in action. LSU beat Nichols 13-1. Georgia beat South Carolina upstate 12-6. South Carolina 12-2 over Gardner-Webb. Ole Miss in 7 innings won 18-3 over Jackson State. Close one in Tuscaloosa. Alabama beat Alabama State 2-1. Mississippi State 19-zip over Alcorn State. 4 in the first, 5 in the second, 4 in the fourth. They added 5 more in the sixth. Bulldogs now 5-0. Vandy 16-2, a winner over Eastern Michigan. And Florida beat Stetson 9-3. Those were the baseball scores from yesterday in the SEC. We also had U.S. hockey in a tight one. After plenty of nerves and extra hockey, the U.S. moving on to the semifinals. Quinn Hughes scored in overtime to put the U.S. up over Sweden in overtime 2-1. Canada did its part with a roller coaster of drama and emotion. The U.S. bounced back and won, and you still have the possibility of USA-Canada in the gold medal game. The semifinals, United States taking on Slovakia, and Canada taking on Finland. Yesterday, you got the announcement of the Mr. and Miss Basketball Awards in the state of Mississippi. We'll start with the ladies. In 1A, it was Dalen Grisham from Ingomar, Mariah Farrell from Heidelberg in 2A, Lamaya Southward from Boonville in 3A. 4A was Cosley Timms from Tishomingo County. 5A, Kalis Walker from Laurel. 6A, Shamira Morton from Canton. And in 7A, Jada Gay out of Starkville High School. Morton was the only individual player to repeat as Miss Basketball this year. Ingomar and Tishomingo County maintained bragging rights with repeat winners, though different people. In the Mr. Basketball Awards, John Gray Morrison of West Union picked up the 1A award. 2A, Zion Grant from Pelahatchie. 3A was Wilson McDonald from Alcorn Central. 4A, Landon Hall from Pass Christian. Columbus's Mike Hood won the 5A award. Blake Nettles out of Pascagoula in 6A. And Sam Funches from Germantown High School won in 7A. It's the first Mr. Basketball title for all 7 players. Morrison at West Union is a multi-sport athlete. He was named Mr. Baseball at the 1A level last year. All of the winners will be recognized during the state tournament. Happens March 2nd through the 7th, put on by the MHSAA. A couple of guests coming up for you this morning, about 40 minutes from right now. We will be joined by former Mississippi Congressman Gregg Harper. He represented the 3rd District. We'll talk with him about some of what is happening in Washington, D.C. I don't know that we've given enough oxygen to the buildup that is happening of the United States military with an eye on Iran. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, to start things off, we'll be joined by Dr. Kirk Kinard. He's a physician and president at Paws Medical Services. Just over 4 years ago, medical marijuana was legalized in Mississippi. Where are we with that program now? How has it gone well? What could be going on that might make it better? We'll talk with all of those things, about all those things with Dr. Kirk Kinard. Right now, though, we take a break. The news is next. Mornings with Richard Cross.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. SuperTalk Mississippi, your home for Mornings with Richard Cross.
Good morning and welcome to the 7 o'clock hour of MRC, Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. You can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line. The number is 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. Love for you to join the conversation. That's the best way for you to get in touch with us. C Spire, customer inspired. MRC is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. Dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. If you're thinking about a new mortgage, buying a new home, or perhaps a refinance, talk to the lenders at Community Bank. Interest rates have ticked down a little bit and feels like we might be trending toward more of that in March and throughout 2026. We'll keep an eye on that. This hour of the show brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. News this morning from the United Kingdom. Perhaps you have seen this. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, has been arrested. The former British prince, who was stripped of his royal titles because of his links to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, was arrested this morning on suspicion of misconduct while in public office. While Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing in connection with his friendship with Epstein, concerns about Mountbatten Windsor, that is quite the hyphenated last name, his link to the late financier have dogged the royal family for more than a decade. The arrest of a brother of a monarch was an extraordinary development with no precedent in modern times that will no doubt put more pressure on the crown. After the arrest, King Charles III said that the law must take its course in the investigation, and he sought to distance the royal family from former Prince Andrew. Thames Valley Police said that a man in his 60s from Norfolk in eastern England was arrested and remained in custody. Yeah, that's him. The force, which covers areas west of London, including Mountbatten, Windsor's former home, did not identify the suspect in line with standard procedures in Britain, but pointed its statement when asked if Andrew is the one who had been arrested. The denials of involvement with Jeffrey Epstein continue, and they continue from people who are seemingly pretty smart. You know, smart enough to become a billionaire anyway. The billionaire behind the retail empire that once blanketed shopping malls with names such as Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie & Fitch told members of Congress on Wednesday that he was duped by a world-class con man, close financial advisor Jeffrey Epstein. We're talking about Les Wexner. He also denied knowing about the late sex offender's crimes or participating in Epstein's abuse of girls and young women. He said this, quote, "I was naive, foolish, and gullible to put any trust in Jeffrey Epstein. He was a con man, and while I was conned, I have done nothing wrong and have nothing to hide." He's 88 years old and is the retired founder of L Brands. He was subpoenaed by Democrats on the review panel after the latest Justice Department release of Epstein-related documents revealed new details about Wexner's relationship with the well-connected financier. James Comer, not the same person, ranking member from Kentucky, said Wexner answered every question asked of him during the 6-hour proceeding. A video and a transcript are soon to be released. Wexner said that he strove to live his life in an ethical manner in line with his moral compass and was eager to set the record straight. Wonder which direction his moral compass pointed. Robert Garcia, a representative from California, said there is no single person that was more involved in providing Jeffrey Epstein with the financial support to commit his crimes than Les Wexner. Yuck.
Now, Wexner, when it's the amount of money that he paid for financial advice to Epstein is just outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. To say that you didn't know anything was going on and all this, I don't know, man. It's hard to believe all that.
It is. I suppose everybody deserves their day.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's just one of those things when yeah, if somebody spent as much time in finance as I did, you don't get paid like that to just manage money. You know, to tell somebody, hey, this is where you can save some tax dollars.
Yeah.
The percentages were way off.
Got a stock tip for you, pal.
Yeah. I mean, there was something else going on there. I don't know what it was, but the amount of money that was transferring between those two was monolithic for the services that he provided.
A great deal of pomp and circumstance has surrounded the announcement that XAI is opening that massive data center in South Haven. Concerns, though, about how XAI will be powered continue to dominate the news. There was a 2.5-hour public hearing in South Haven in a room with a couple of hundred attendees. Not one spoke in favor of a proposed air permit for an Elon Musk-owned operation in South Haven. MZX Tech, LLC, which is a part of Musk's XAI artificial intelligence company, applied for permits to construct and operate 41 natural gas turbines in the North Mississippi City. Those turbines would power the company's nearby data centers, which include 2 just across the state line in Memphis, as well as the $20 billion center that has been announced for South Haven. Mississippi's Environmental Permit Board, which is made up of 7 appointees from several state agencies, will ultimately decide whether to approve the application. Part of the issue is that Musk's companies have already funded 27 quote-unquote mobile temporary turbines at the Stanton Road facility. Mississippi regulators maintain that those turbines don't actually require an air permit because of their mobile temporary designation. Environmental lawyers are pushing back about that, and for months, residents in and around South Haven have complained about the turbine's unaccounted emissions and the perpetual high-pitched humming, the noise that goes along with them. In the hearing on Tuesday night, it was held by the DEQ, Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. That hearing affirmed and amplified some of those concerns. About 30 audience members spoke, most of them longer than the allotted 3 minutes that they were given, and all expressed fear of the turbine's potential pollution. They asked the agency to reject the application or requested DEQ to shut down the already operating generators. One mother said that 2 of her children have developed respiratory problems in the few months since the temporary turbines began running over the summer. And her issue with eczema has spread dramatically in the last month. Her dermatologist attributing that to formaldehyde exposure, which is a known release from gas production. She said, since August, we have slowly fallen out of love with where we decided to grow our family. Another mother said that she lives less than half a mile from the plant, and she's recently felt increased shortness of breath and has seen more frequent asthma flare-ups. Her quote, my family shouldn't be forced to live in fear of long-term health consequences simply because pollution is being allowed to continue and expand. I never thought after 23 years here I would have to fight for the basic right to breathe clean air in my own house. You also had a Tennessee congressional representative, Justin Pearson. He's the guy that got expelled from the Tennessee legislature and then ultimately won a special election to get back in over his gun protest. Spoke out against it, and he said that, hey, pollution doesn't know state line boundaries. That's why I'm here today. Well, keep an eye on this. There are a lot of people that don't like the idea. There are a lot of others that do love the idea of the economic impact that XAI could have in Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
This tax season, C Spire is helping you stretch your refund and still get the devices you want. Right now, new and current customers can get 3 free devices plus 100 gigs of data for just $100. It's all part of C Spire's Ultimate Connect bundle. Any new iPhone or Samsung Galaxy is free, and a free smartwatch and tablet to go with it. Don't wait. There's more to see. Shop now at cspire.com or visit your local C Spire store today. C Spire brings you the text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Follow up on something that we talked about in a fair amount of detail yesterday. The ABC hearing that happened in Jackson earlier this week. Legislators listening to, learning more about, and trying to find a solution to the major backlog of shipments of alcohol to liquor stores, restaurants, casinos, and others, all those retail locations. We have reached out to a couple of the legislators who were involved in that hearing. We're not able to get anything scheduled today, but hopefully next week we'll be able to learn a little bit more about that hearing and where this all goes. But I talked to someone in the industry last night, and I've got some numbers to go along with what we were discussing. You hear backlog, and you're like, yeah, what does that really mean? 220,000 cases behind in terms of shipping. Not too terribly long ago, ABC was shipping out between 8 and 10,000 cases a week of product to retail locations across the state of Mississippi. With some of the changes that we've talked about yesterday, the efficiency of that shipping has just plummeted. They've gone from the conveyor belt system within the factory, in the warehouse, to the pick and pallet system that we discussed yesterday, and have gone from 8 to 10,000 cases a week to just 4,000 cases a week that are being loaded by hand and then shipped out across the state. This industry person that I talked to said it's unfathomable how bad it has become. And so what's the impact right now? Well, if you're a high-volume store, if you're a store that does a lot in terms of revenue, you probably can get by. But some of the smaller stores whose shelves are empty or mostly empty right now, their ability to stay in business is very much hanging in the balance. There has been an increase in the number of license requests over the last few years as more and more people have said, hey, I want to be in the liquor store business, or I want to serve alcohol at my restaurant. But I thought those numbers were pretty eye-opening. You know, it's one thing to talk about, oh, yeah, there's a backlog. Oh, it's a backlog that's going to be cut in half by March and hopefully will be in better shape by May. But when you recognize that the distribution has been cut somewhere between half and 60% over the course of the last few months, and they are still over a year away from getting into the new warehouse, it really makes you wonder. We're going to continue to ask questions about this. And the biggest question is, why is the state maintaining control of alcohol distribution? And as we talked about yesterday, the easy answer is revenue. Lance went on a deep dive yesterday afternoon and started playing with some numbers and like, man, you can offset the revenue by privatizing this and charging a fee for it. And you can do it in about 38 seconds.
Yeah. You imagine the bids that would be coming in on that? Looking at a system running that inefficiently, still yielding $120 million in revenue a year.
Yeah, and here's maybe the comparison. Have you ever known someone or known a family that owned a distributorship, a beverage distributorship? Whether we're talking about beer or soda or whatever it is. Those people do well. And they run their businesses with a great deal of efficiency. And they deliver product to their retailers on a daily basis, certainly multiple times a week, but in a lot of cases a daily basis. And they figured out how to do it. And clearly they're making a lot of money doing it as well. So, it just feels like, Richard, what are you referring to as a pick and pallet system? Is that what we used to call non-conveyable? It's very labor intensive and inefficient. Yeah, so the warehouse for ABC, they had a conveyor belt system that was working fairly well. And there were some changes that happened to the conveyor system. There were software-related issues as well. And a couple of other internal decisions that just turned out not to make any sense at all and created the inefficiency. And so there's a massive backlog. I mean, 220,000 cases? Case sizes vary. In some cases, that's 6 bottles. In some cases, it's 12, depending on how it's packaged or packed. But at 6 bottles per case, you're talking about over 1.2 million bottles behind. You spread that out across all of the retail establishments in Mississippi, and you realize the significance of just how behind they are. Did you see this story out of California about the backcountry skiers and the avalanche yesterday? This is just harrowing. The story comes from Truckee, California. Skiers near Lake Tahoe were buried in an avalanche. Crews found the bodies of 8 backcountry skiers. There were some survivors. Authorities said because of the avalanche, skiers had little time to react. Captain Rusty Green with the Nevada County Sheriff's Office said someone saw the avalanche, yelled avalanche, and it overtook them rather quickly. 6 members of the party of 14 were rescued 6 hours after the avalanche hit Tuesday morning as they were finishing up a 3-day trek in Northern California's Sierra Nevadas during a monster winter storm. It was a mix of men and women in the group between the ages of 30 and 55. Some of the people killed were members of the Sugar Bowl Academy community, a private boarding school and ski and snowboard club on Donner Summit. So if you've been with us since the beginning this morning, you heard the reference on things that happened on this day in history. Donner refers to those early explorers. Let's see, what was it? 1847. The first rescue party reached the Donner Party, a group of American pioneers trapped by heavy snowfall in the Sierra Nevadas. And now, 170 years later, here we are with an avalanche in that region of the country, killing 8. One is still hospitalized and receiving intensive care, trying to recover after the fact. Hours before the avalanche hit, the Sierra Avalanche Center issued an avalanche warning. They had put out an avalanche watch 24 to 48 hours earlier, but unclear if the guides would have known about the change before they began their trek out into the wilderness. They were on the home stretch. They were trying to come home. About some of the survivors, quotes, "They are still reeling. I could not imagine what they're going through." All of the skiers/hikers had the honing beacons either in their gear or on their jackets that allowed rescuers to find them. But they couldn't get there easily because of fear of triggering another avalanche. They drove snowmobiles in to about 2 miles away from where the avalanche victims were trapped. And then they had to very, very carefully ski in the last 2 miles to get to the skiers, only to find 8 of them deceased. The bodies have not been removed yet because of the fear of more avalanche possibilities. Just an awful story. And those that survived were having to build shelters in sub-zero temperatures or below freezing temperatures. About 35 deaths occur in the United States every year as a result of avalanche. We'll take a time out. Former Congressman Gregg Harper will join us coming up next. Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Coming up later today on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you will hear part 1 of an interview with sales guru and motivational speaker Mike Farrell. You can listen to In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar today, starting at 1 o'clock right here on Super Talk, Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. Find them online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. My first guest this morning is former Mississippi Congressman Gregg Harper. He represented District 3. Always good to catch up with the Congressman. Greg, good morning. How are you?
Hey, great, Richard. Great to be with you again. Hope you're doing well and enjoying everything up there.
Things are good. Appreciate your time very much. Let's jump in for a second. The House of Representatives has passed the Save America Act, which is voter ID, proof of citizenship, in the name of trying to create free and fair elections. It's with the Senate now, and we've heard all of this conversation about the filibuster, the talking filibuster, the silent filibuster. There is still some debate as to what Majority Leader Thune is going to do in terms of bringing that to the Senate. What can you tell us about that from your time in Washington, about the use of the filibuster, the effectiveness of this, and what makes sense right now?
Well, I think it's such a long-standing tradition. The Senate's a different creature. In the House, we just like to have a lot of fun sometimes. It's a little more deliberative on the Senate side. So, first of all, I have great respect and trust for John Thune. He's an amazing person. I think great for that role, particularly after Mitch McConnell had it for a number of years. You bring in somebody like Thune, I think it changes the landscape. He gets along with all the other senators. I mean, the filibuster is it's a tool that can be used by them. And, we like to do something yesterday in the Senate to get something done. It's going to take a little longer. It's just part of that process that they have there. That you look at the SAVE Act, that's one of those things that, we talk about 80-20 issues on voter ID to be able to vote. It's probably an 85-15 issue. I mean, it is widespread support across the country. And if you want to know how it works, have you heard any complaints in Mississippi? No, because we do it right. And so the voter ID laws work well. I think it'll work well for the country. And it's something that we need. And we can tie that back into immigration, illegal immigration, and the impact and what I think the Biden administration, tried to create with the open borders. So I think the filibuster is here to stay, and I hope that they'll get something done on the SAVE Act.
When you talk about elections, the Constitution is pretty clear that it is the job of the states to run elections. And we're talking about the possibility of a federal law mandating voter ID. I think it's something that should be in place in all 50 states. I think that's generally a conservative viewpoint, or something at least that would be good for Republicans. I don't think there's any doubt that our Secretary of State, Michael Watson, is a conservative, and he's kind of spoken out against this and said, hey, federal laws don't need to overstep into state elections. That is the job of the states. How do you make those two things dovetail?
Yeah, I think it's something that we know if we leave it up to the states, then about half the states will never have voter ID, which leads the way for possibly having people here that are here illegally or not qualified to vote. Look, if you go to the bank, are you going to say, I'm not showing you my ID, you just have to take my word for it? No, people are so used to showing identification everywhere they go. So it shouldn't be that, and it's not an overstep to say one thing you got to show an ID. And the ID choices are multiple. It's not just if you don't have a driver's license, there are other ways you can show your identification. So, yeah, look, I'm a big supporter of the elections being run by the states, but I do think this one adjustment to make it uniform on that one issue shouldn't be an overreach, and I don't think it is.
Yeah. You have been on the international stage recently. Let's talk about a couple of different things. I think there was a recent trip to Brussels. Is that right?
That is correct, and okay. It was a pretty cool thing to do, I have to say, for poor old boy from Mississippi. So getting to go to Brussels and speak to the EU, to European Parliament in a hearing on behalf of the Ukrainian National Bar Association. So go figure, that. But the Ukrainian National Bar Association has done a great job, but they're getting hammered by these shadow reports, outside groups, well-funded, almost propaganda attacks against them. And so one of the things that Ukraine wants to do very definitely is to become a part of the EU. Well, there are different steps and processes that you have to go through, and you have to show even in the legal world that you're meeting the European standards. And so that's a big part of what they have to do. So I got to go over there and do that. It was a lot of work for a 15-minute speech. I'm just going to tell you that. A lot of time and a lot of work. Yeah. But it was great. I thought it was well received. We got good press in Europe over that. I don't think it made the Rankin County News yet, but it is something that we're. Well, it's one of the few papers you can actually hold. So that or the Natchez Democrat. But it was a real honor to get to do it. Had a wonderful trip, and I think we helped them a little bit in that process towards their ascension for the country into the EU one day, which we really won't have happen.
Is there as much opposition to their inclusion in the European Union as there is to their inclusion in NATO?
Well, I mean, they're obviously very, very different. NATO is going to be the military part. You're going to make it probably worse with Russia. I would prefer to see them in NATO. I mean, good night. You've got Estonia. You've got other countries on the Russian border that are part of NATO. But at this point, look, they've been under martial law. They've been in, they've been at war for the past 4+ years. And so it's really one step at a time. It's a daily battle for them. I guess no country other than Israel would understand the daily sirens going off on missile attacks and things like that. But I think EU is one that they should be a part of that. Hopefully NATO one day, but I think you take one step at a time. And right now, this is a path that I think would be beneficial. And who knows what Russia is going to do? I mean, Putin is. How many people of your own do you have to lose before you realize, that was really a bad idea? And I would say too that if we want to lay a good part of the blame on anybody, and this is not partisan, but it is obviously Biden, when he said, well, if it was just a minor incursion, if you just green lighted Russia to come into Ukraine saying that U.S. is not going to get involved, and then it's a little bit too late. I cannot imagine that they would have started that had Trump been president. I don't think there was any chance that would have taken place. But again, we're still living with the baggage from the Biden administration, and it seems like Trump's been in office more than a year and a month, and a lot's been done. But you can't get past the memory and the impact of still having to overcome what happened the 4 years before.
And he has repeatedly said that he thought this was going to be a conflict that was going to be easy to end. It has been anything but that. Gregg Harper is my guest, former United States Congressman representing the 3rd District of Mississippi. Our attention span is short. I think that's pretty well documented. And you mentioned just a second ago, this war between Russia and Ukraine has now been going on for over 4 years. In your interaction with the Bar Association in Ukraine and your travels there, what is the sense that you get of what it's like on the ground, living in Ukraine still now 4 years into this conflict? Because there's this balance, right? There's part of it where we see this war-torn country, and then there are other parts where it feels like they've figured out a way to operate in a somewhat normal fashion, despite the fact that this war has been going for 4 years.
Yeah, there are parts of Ukraine that really are not anywhere near the battle lines, and they haven't been subjected. But now Kyiv, the capital city, it's usually, if not daily, it's certainly every few days there's something that's happening. And look, Richard, the future of war and what's happening, it's going to be so centered around drones and drone swarms and attacks, and it's just different than what it used to be. And a lot of times you don't have much in the way of a warning. But I think Israel and Ukraine share a common bond in the fact that we can't relate to what they're going through. Yeah. But there are, I'm sure Putin is stunned that they haven't taken over the whole country. And I really, you can't roll the clock back, but I think if you could, I think Putin would probably not invade if he knew they were going to be in this situation some 4 years later.
And yet here we are.
How do you get out of this? Yeah. How do you get out?
Gregg Harper is my guest. We'll continue the conversation on the other side of this break. He's a former United States Congressman right here from the state of Mississippi. We're back on Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I was only 17 back then, but it seems like I knew more than I do now. I can't say he didn't tell me this city life's a hard road to hoe. It's funny how a dream can turn around.
We're glad to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Just a couple of minutes left with my guest, Gregg Harper, former United States Congressman from Mississippi's 3rd District. I'm curious your thoughts on the somewhat quiet buildup that we see of United States warships closing in on Iran. Multiple aircraft carriers that are in the region in a place in which they can strike. We saw the precision strike with the stealth bombers several months back, and I think most of us were in awe with the military capability of that. This feels a little bit different. Obviously, the tensions with Iran are still significant. What do you make of where we are right now?
It is. You can't imagine putting that many assets, whether it's surveillance aircraft or, like you mentioned, aircraft carriers with the Gerald Ford, the largest battleship in the world, is now in the region as well. I mean, they've got the ability to do whatever they want. But if the goal is, say, regime change, you can't do that on air power alone. And I can't see us committing troops. But it is sending a powerful message. Will this mean a regime change? I think the people of Iran would love that because what a disaster that country is and what a threat. And look, they've been the primary source of terrorism around the world. And so it is something to watch. It's a major development, and it's been building for, as you know, a good while. And can't imagine they're just there on vacation. You've got to think that there's something. So it's definitely the place to watch for the next, I'd say, 2 weeks. And I think we'll know by then.
You were around Washington, D.C., and were able to see up close. Every administration has some people that kind of fly under the radar and yet are highly effective in their abilities, whatever their subject area expertise may be. I'm curious, Steve Witkoff, a guy that has been labeled as a special envoy and honestly has been kind of the chief negotiator alongside with Jared Kushner for some of these really, really big deals. Russia, Israel, now Iran. What can you say about the role that people, well, specifically Steve Witkoff, or people like him play that maybe we don't have as names that just immediately pop off the top of our heads?
Yeah, and look, he's no doubt very, very trusted by Trump and his inner circle, and he's kind of quietly effective, and he doesn't blow a lot of smoke, and I think he's one that when he speaks, people are going to listen to what he has to say, and I think those approaches really work well, and there's certainly a lot of members in the House and in the Senate that are in that category. They're the ones that want the trains to run on time. Yeah. But they're not out in front of the camera, trying to be famous and raise money online. So, so Steve's kind of the guy that I think everybody respects, and we'll see what he's able to do in his world. But I'm glad he's out there.
Last thing for you this morning, there was a fair amount that was made about the speech that Marco Rubio made at the Munich Security Conference last week. He got incredibly high marks. A lot of people looking at the future of the Republican presidential ticket, even though we're only, as you said a moment ago, 13 months into this Trump administration. And the two names that come up over and over again are J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. J.D. has said there will be no animosity. There's not going to be, any bickering. The two of them are very close. Do you read any tea leaves at this point and have an idea where we might be 2 years from now in terms of what the ticket might look like?
Well, I just hope that the public is comparing AOC's speech to Rubio's speech. And if you haven't heard them, I hope everybody will go back and listen to at least AOC's answer on Taiwan.
We have made that available here, and we have made part of Marco Rubio's speech available here. There is a significant contrast, yes.
Yeah, well, Trump's already said that he's basically blessed a Vance-Rubio ticket, which would be, I think, monumental. The last thing we need is probably to have a really contested primary between those two. And if they are great friends for the good of the country, but what a great team that would be to have Vance and Rubio. I mean, Rubio really looks the most presidential of anybody out there right now. And he's added to that with his incredible, speech, one of the best speeches I've ever heard. But that's Rubio. Go back and look at Rubio's, remarks he made at Charlie Kirk's funeral. It was one of the 7 minutes, but it was just perfect, and talked about his relationship really with Christ, and just set a great standard. But there's so much going on. I hope we'll remember too. Somebody that's being attacked a lot is going to have a lot of money against her is going to be Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, and so she's got. There's a primary on March 10th, which happens to be spring break week, and so people need to get out. But there's a lot of Democratic money that'll be out there against Hyde-Smith, and she's very valuable and important to our state.
Greg, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon.
My privilege. Thanks. Appreciate it a lot.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
8 o'clock hour. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. I anticipate that our next guest, this next conversation, may elicit some response from you and maybe some questions along the way as well. It's my pleasure to welcome in Dr. Kirk Kinard. He's a physician and is president at Paul's Medical Services. We are living in a time when the biggest debate in the state of Mississippi seems to be over school choice and educational freedom, but that has not always been the biggest debate in Mississippi. If you rewind about 6 years to 2020, the debate that captured so much airtime was about the legalization of medical marijuana in Mississippi. Governor Tate Reeves signed the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Act into law back on February 2nd of 2022, just over 4 years ago, officially legalizing medical marijuana. While voters previously approved a 2020 initiative, it was overturned by the state Supreme Court, making 2022 the final binding legislative approval. With that as the backdrop, I welcome in Dr. Kirk Kinard, who has worked in pain management for a long time. Dr. Kinard, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. Appreciate you having me. We've been talking about this for a few months back during football season, and you didn't forget, and I'm glad you didn't.
Absolutely did not.
I think that the legislators and the general public hear a lot from the industry, but they don't hear as much from the medical community. And there's reasons for that, but I appreciate the time to be able to represent that side of things. I think you need to have balance when you think about this. There's a lot of balance to be had. So I'm willing to take on the questions that intrigue you and you're interested in, but I do have a lot to say. So let's get to it.
Let's start with kind of a general background, where we were in 2020 and 2022 when medical marijuana was legalized here in Mississippi, what the options were for pain management for those who are dealing with chronic pain, and how the last 4 years have gone in terms of the use of medical marijuana to alleviate some of that pain, whether or not it's a one-size-fits-all remedy for people dealing with chronic pain. Let's just kind of start by laying the groundwork from where we are and where we were and where we are.
Okay, that's great. That leaves me a lot of room. As you mentioned, I practiced clinical private practice pain management, chronic pain management for over 15 years. And that's thousands of patient encounters with people mostly at the end of their rope by the time they get to a specialist in chronic pain. They've had their surgery. They've done their physical therapy. The disease has run its course, and it's termed chronic because it can't be cured. And that's not a good position to be in. It was a great field and is a great field for a clinician because people are in that spot of desperation. But the number of tools that we have are limited. And I tried to, in my practice, limit the amount of opioids I prescribed, just on face value. But there's reasons for that. Over time, opioids tend to exhaust their analgesic capacity. And they have to be increased in doses to where they start to affect the physiology negatively. So you're chasing the pain with a higher dose, and then you start having mood issues and sleep issues, and dependency and addiction can creep in. Knowing that, you hate to start somebody out on that path at all if you can. We just didn't and still don't have multiple tools to use outside of opioids in regards to medication for pain.
Okay.
Over that 15
years. So let me interrupt just for a second. When we talk about pain, we're talking about, I think you were referring maybe to cancer patients and some of the pain that they're dealing with, but it could be any number of chronic pain issues, whether it's related to back pain or severe joint pain. All of these fall into the pain management realm. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. So chronic pain is a huge net. Migraine, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis anywhere in the human skeleton, base of the skull to the last joint in the toe. If it's pain that has existed more than 3 to 6 months and hasn't remitted for whatever reason, it's chronic pain.
Okay.
Abdominal, pelvic, anything.
And debilitating, right? This is not, I turned my ankle jogging the other day and it really hurts, or my back feels like it's a little bit out of line and maybe I need to go see the chiropractor. This is the type of pain where it hurts to get out of bed and it hurts maybe your entire body just to move on a daily basis.
I'm so glad you asked that, because one's pain and pain tolerance and the effect of that pain on their mood, behavior, sleep, social interaction is their own. So a 7 out of 10, 10's the worst pain in my life. 0 is no pain. 7 is not another person's 7. That is subjectively reported and determined by how that affects that individual's quality of life and function.
Okay.
So some people have mild migraines that they can manage. A little bit of medication every once in a while. I have a couple of a month. Well, the next person has 4 a week and they're severe and incapacitating and they can't work, provide for their family. So there's just so much variability in each individual's response to the pain. Therefore, also, the tools that we have are variable in their effects. If you take a 30% rate of efficacy for most drugs in the whole world for every disease, that's about right. The number needed to treat to get the commercial result that you see on the TV is about 3 patients. So that means 2/3 of patients don't respond to any such drug. And what are they left to do? So my chronic pain patients would be in these positions, tried opioids maybe, didn't want to, did anyway, because they're desperate. They would come to me and tell me, please don't hold this against me, Dr. Kinard. I'm probably going to test positive for THC, but it helps my pain. They stood to gain nothing from telling me that, but risk. They were just getting ahead of it. So I did not hold that against them, because who am I? They're the ones suffering. And I haven't found the solution. They have found one. It apparently is not destroying their life and dragging them down into a valley. Some of them just using topicals, but they still test positive. We've got to get there to separate and distinguish a medical cannabis program and the goals of a medical user from those of a recreational or otherwise use. If you can't do that, then you really can't understand how our medical program protects patients and is a medical experience that needs to be considered differently.
All right, so we get to 2022, and ultimately this is signed into law by the governor. There is a medical marijuana program that is available in Mississippi. As I understand it, it is highly regulated. You've got to have the medical marijuana card that gives you access to that, and then go through the dispensaries that deal with a lot of regulation as well. So how has prescribing changed for you when we go from what has clearly been an opioid crisis that gets so much attention to this era over the last 4 years where an additional option for treatment of pain has been medical marijuana?
Yes. For me, in my practice, and the reason I told you right off the jump that I need my physician colleagues to hear me today, I need legislators to hear me today, I need anybody who is supposed to pass judgment on the plant-based substance called cannabis, which includes THC, and at certain levels would be considered marijuana. If you're passing judgment on that, you need to understand and distinguish how we would use it medically versus recreational. So the recreational user's goals are disparate from that of a medical user. Medical user wants their sleep to improve, their pain to improve. Recreational user wants an experience. So
let's pause right
in
there.
My practice,
we've got a break, a commercial break right here. We'll pick it up on the other side. The difference between the medical user and the recreational user, and how that plays out in a clinical setting. We'll continue our conversation with Dr. Kirk Kinard. He's a physician and president at Paws Medical Services. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
From the Venable
It's time to get real.
Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics. Yes! Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back on MRC, good to be with you on this Thursday morning, the 19th of February. Dr. Kirk Kinard is my guest, a physician and president at Paws Medical Services. He has spent the majority of his career working in pain management. And Dr. Kinard, before the break, you were making the delineation between the medical marijuana, medical cannabis program, and recreational marijuana. And we're appealing to specifically other physicians and also the legislature or legislators to understand the difference.
Yes. This is the biggest issue. The biggest obstacle is this separation between the goals of a patient that may be suffering from a chronic disease and anybody using this from any source for any other reason. If you just do that, you'll see that the way our program was designed and built into law and codified by our legislator 4 years ago now. So another thing I want people to understand is we're 4 years in. If you're able to separate the two, you should appreciate that medical card holders are not showing up in droves at emergency rooms, sick and intoxicated. They are not certainly showing up in morgues. If they are a medical user and using it under the guise of a clinician and being fairly responsible, and the average age of a medical patient is around 50 years old. They're not sure. You can't overdose with this substance, by the way, alone. So in and of itself, you can't take enough of it to be fatal. I don't think a lot of people know that. I wouldn't have personally dropped everything in my former career and jumped into this with both feet if cannabis had the same harm potential as opioids. What have I done then? It's just a me too. So it is not the same when it's used appropriately. And our program, so what are the guardrails? What is the separation? So you've got gas station hemp, which could be Delta 8 and what's called THCA. So that's THC acid. THC acid does not test on a drug test, and it is not tested by the USDA or any other testing body. It's Delta 9 THC that's tested. So the workaround is Delta 8, which is very psychoactive, but it's not tested for and regulated. THCA, it converts to Delta 9 THC when it's heated. So when it's smoked, it converts right to the thing that everybody's worried about, which is Delta 9 THC.
So is that part of the conversation that we were having a year ago with the gas stations and all the pushback? There was the Kratom conversation, the THC drink conversation, and the unregulated products that were on the shelves in gas stations that ultimately the legislature said these have got to come out, and they've got to come out now.
Yes, because they are unregulated. What you get at a qualified registered dispensary through our program is highly regulated. Therefore, it's tested for heavy metals, pesticides, mold, mildew, bacteria, and it's labeled properly. So what's in it is what you can read on a label. These are the things that distinguish it from all these other sources, certainly the street. You have to go to a practitioner, receive a card. These dispensaries are under great scrutiny and red tape, and should be. If we're going to call it a medicine, it needs to be as close to pharmaceutical grade and good manufacturing product standards as possible. Otherwise, I'm not sending my patients to a gas station. I'm sending them to a licensed dispensary. There's a difference, but when you drive down the street, you can't tell what's what. So I don't want to get in anybody's way of conducting their own business, but I'm sorry for the hemp shops and things that are selling these workarounds that are not tested. As a physician, that's not good enough. So we've made some headway with that, not enough on the hemp side. Intoxicating hemp should not be put in the same boat as something that you can get from a licensed dispensary. That makes a big difference, and that is why medical patients are not experiencing many of these complications and problematic uses as the other groups.
I don't know that this matters in the scheme of things. It's more curiosity than anything else. When you talk about medical patients in this scenario, and forgive if I'm not using the right terms, are they smoking weed or taking gummies?
The numbers published by the Department of Health, not my numbers. My patients, in my clinics, we don't actually recommend a certain route. We hedge towards non-smoking forms. So because of the other health-related risks of smoking? Well, if you smoke something that's pure, actually, the facts about that are that much like nicotine in a vape pen, it's not the nicotine and it's not the THC or the CBD that cause lung issues. It's the fillers and things that can be added. So there's a bill still alive that would uncap the potency of THC in concentrates. Why is that important? Once you get past about 30% THC, which is our limit for products, you can't get a whole lot more psychoactive once you get to a certain percent. I mean, you're talking about 100% THC versus 50. For a medical user, there's not that much difference in those two, although chronic pain patients need more THC. I have found that to treat pain. When you mix, so a vape pen for nicotine is not dangerous in and of itself if it was pure nicotine. It's the fillers and the artificial flavors that cause popcorn lung. You got to understand that. Just like the percentage of THC in concentrates is limited to 60, well, it's got to be 100% of something. So they have to put filler in it to get it down to 60%. Well, the filler is not regulated. So it could be almost anything. And that could be as dangerous as the product itself, as the cannabis. Yeah. So you just have to, not a lot of people know those nuances, but something that's regulated versus unregulated is really at the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
Tested versus untested, labeled properly versus not labeled properly.
We get a message on the C Spire text line. It says, I've had my medical marijuana card since it started in Mississippi. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and it helps tremendously. I've had no complications. I usually do the vape and the gummies. And so I guess in this scenario, it's a kind of a dual usage path. And I'm sure that that's not a unique usage pattern.
No, so it's probably about 50% inhaled, whether it's a vape or smoked flower, and 50% otherwise. So what is otherwise? Yes, so you got the edibles, the gummies, but you've also got these concentrates that people can use and put in food and things that don't have a noxious smell, if that's what they prefer, and that's what most people prefer that are patients. And then you have capsules as well that look like a little vitamin D capsule, a little yellow, clear capsule that has a certain milligram of CBD and THC in a balanced form. And you put that in your pill counter like you do all your other medications. This experience is one that treats their medical condition. So that's what they want it to feel like. Yeah. This is what thousands of patients have told us.
All right, so we've got a minute and a half left. And
they don't want to be high.
Okay, don't want to be high. They're looking to take the edge off on the pain, but they don't want to feel high. 4 years in the books now since this has become legal in Mississippi. How would you grade the efficacy, and where do we need to go from here? In 65 seconds.
Yeah, it's not a panacea, Richard. I don't want to support this outside of the context of a good, solid medical state program that has the guardrails. What my opinion on whether it goes recreational or not does not even matter. I am putting my credentials behind the process that we have in this state that has the protections. I think somebody should be able to do whatever the heck they want at their own home, within limits. They're not hurting someone else or committing crimes. But that doesn't matter. As a clinician, I want what's best for patients, and I know what they want. Let's talk about it. And if cannabis can help them in a controlled setting, I've seen 0 complications compared to ibuprofen that you can go get over the counter that causes stomach ulcers, cardiovascular disease, and you can get it without a card and just run into the pharmacy and grab it. You have to have this kind of perspective about what you're ingesting and have some guidance. And when you do, you limit the complications dramatically. And so we have 70,000-ish patients in the state now. And what do you hear about the medical program? Not much. I wish you heard more, but you don't hear a lot of negative or positive.
Better solution than opioids, though, right?
All day long, every day of the week, twice on Sunday. And because you can't overdose with it.
From the Seabrook.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
This morning it is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Dr. Kirk Kinard for his time. Interesting conversation and a little bit different perspective on the medical cannabis industry and what it's doing for patients. You can jump in if you'd like. Paul in Hernando says the jury is still out on whether marijuana is effective for pain, according to Grok. That may be what Grok says, and I'm sure that's based on a lot of information. But you also just heard the information from Dr. Kinard specifically related to his patients, and he says that he has seen positive outcomes. Jim in Caledonia says, all it does to these people is enslave them, keep them controlled and poor. I'm not sure if that is worth the medicinal value to Mississippi. Okay. You are welcome to that opinion, Jim. Absolutely, you're welcome to that opinion. I'm guessing that people who are using medical-grade cannabis to manage their pain and have seen different results might not characterize it as being enslaved, but rather being free. Get a message that says, Richard, amazing guest. You should have him back to break down more information in the medicinal arena. I'm a proponent on medical marijuana and feel I am relatively well educated on the topic, and I learned things this morning. Thanks for having him on. You're welcome. I thought it was a really interesting conversation. Dave in Ripley says, okay, I'm going to disagree with anybody, doctor or not, about the effectiveness of pain relief of marijuana. Full disclosure, I smoked that stuff off and on for close to 50 years. I don't anymore. And, of course, over the years, I would be smoking it when I had pain and when I didn't, and believe me, it did not relieve the pain. I actually snicker when I hear the term patience. It's the money. We were so duped by outside influences. Heck, I was using it when the vote came up, and I voted against it. No wonder they don't want to put that voter initiative in. The ballot initiative. Again, a topic with very divergent opinions, and you're certainly entitled to yours. But, Dave, I would say that your experience is your experience. I feel like that I am fortunate that I do not deal with chronic pain. At least not at this stage of my life. There's a possibility that comes. I've never been a cancer patient who is going through chemo and radiation therapy, who feels like the inside of my body, like there's this constant itch that cannot be scratched, with joint pain that is so debilitating that I can barely walk across the bedroom or the living room or the kitchen, or any other type of chronic pain related to an old sports injury or a slipped disc in my back or, chronic back pain. I've never had that experience, so I cannot speak to the effect of, personally, of medical-grade cannabis on chronic pain. But I can listen to others who do and have and not necessarily discount their experience. But that doesn't mean that's your experience either. Thomas in Greenwood says, okay, who cares if someone wants to smoke weed? Why is it different than alcohol other than the state making revenue off of it? There are a lot of people that feel that way, Thomas. And there are lots and lots and lots of people that will submit to you that marijuana is far less damaging than alcohol. Wow, so OxyContin is the answer to not being enslaved? That comment was wild. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got pretty clear evidence that opioids, if they can possibly be avoided, should be avoided. I don't know if Dr. Kinard said this specifically this morning, but I know in some background conversations, I talked to him about this, and he said, look, he said, did I prescribe opioids to patients who were dealing with chronic pain issues prior to the legalization of medical marijuana in Mississippi? I absolutely did. Because my job as their physician was to try to help them find relief from the chronic pain that they were dealing with. He said he didn't like doing it. He didn't want to do it. He was looking for alternatives to that because of what he described a second ago. I think he called it the analgesic effect, where your dosage over time for a lot of people has to go up, and it's got incredibly addictive properties. And it's why we see so many people that become addicted to opioids. Just trying to go through your message, a lot of these. Medical MJ and many, but not all people, trades pain relief for potential mental and emotional problems. You do not know who will be affected until the brain has been altered. From Jason in Starkville. Jason, I'm not a doctor, so I can neither refute nor affirm that message. I think that's something that people have talked about openly over time, though, that different people react differently to different medications. And Dr. Kinard said that as well. He said the efficacy of any drug that you see advertised on television or is available to the public, if it's effective at 30%, then that's a success. It's not only for pain. People who have only had Xanax to cope with major depression episodes now have the choice of something that doesn't knock you out or have nearly the addictive profile that Xanax does. C-Spire text line, if you want to get in on the conversation, 601-879-4395. I've had my card for 3 years now, and it's almost cured my bulging disc in my back. Certain terpenes do different things. Terpenes are the chemicals in plants that have effects. Some are anti-inflammatory. Some help you sleep. Some help you not be anxious. The VA had me on 17 pills a day. Since Mississippi Cannabis Program, I take 0. I think that message is from Dwayne. James from Petal, I wonder if anyone on the text line gives false information to build credibility when they comment. I don't know if, I'm sure some do. I don't know that most people intentionally give false information, but you share what you believe to be true, and you don't always go back and figure out whether or not you were right or not, or do the research. My experience is that it makes everyone lazy and emotionless and unmotivated. Is that medical usage or buddies who are smoking weed in the middle of the afternoon and then getting the munchies? That characterization goes along with dope smokers, as you might categorize them. When properly dosed, is that the the reaction that you get from people who are using it medically. I don't know. I would definitely rather meet someone driving on the highway that is under the influence of marijuana driving 50 miles an hour than someone drunk driving 100. Call any rehab and ask the amount of patients there for opioids and heroin compared to marijuana patients. The number will be astoundingly low for marijuana, probably 99 to 1. No names, please. I finally talked my wife into trying medical marijuana last year. She has neuropathy, borderline diabetic, and arthritis. The anti-inflammatory gummies and flour has helped her tremendously. The swelling in her joints and her mobility is greatly improved. This one from the Delta. After 5 surgeries in 4 years following a debilitating accident, 3 to 4 pain pills daily to walk ended my career. Medical marijuana has ended that dependence and works for my chronic pain. My mother suffered with a glioblastoma brain tumor. She was on opioids for pain and became debilitated. She started using medical cannabis. It totally changed her life until the day she died. She got off of opioids 100%. Bubba says it was a blessing for his mother. Thanks for all the interaction. Really interesting conversation. Quick timeout. We will wrap up the Thursday morning edition of Mornings with Richard Cross with you after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you on this Thursday morning. Reached out to JT Mitchell with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team and asked him to jump in. We got a message on the C Spire text line about 20 minutes or so ago that said it appeared as if there was a cyber attack that had happened that tied to the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Their website is currently offline. JT is the news director with our SuperTalk Mississippi news team. JT, what do you know?
Hey, Richard. Yeah, I wish I knew more for you. However, my phone has been blowing up when it comes to this potential incident at UMC. I've had multiple sources connected to UMC tell me the academic hospital was subject of a cyber attack early this morning. As you noticed, the website was down, and it's been down for at least the past hour. According to my sources, the attack did compromise UMC's IT system. Some employees have been sent home. But the question that remains, and I have yet to get an answer to, but I know a lot of your listeners are wondering, is are medical records part of this? I do not know. My team is going to continue working to find answers. We have reached out to UMC. We've called them. It was a busy phone line earlier on. It was a pre-recorded message pretty much saying that the system was experiencing problems. So that's kind of what I know.
Could be that their phone system is tied to their internet or their IT platform as well, I suppose. It could be just a lot of people calling to try and find out information. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if you would or not when you talk about medical records and whether or not there's some exposure on that point. Any idea if their internal medical record keeping system is separate from maybe their external IT platform? I don't even know if I'm asking that the right way.
Yeah, I don't know either, but UMC is one of these giants. You know, I feel confident saying that they probably have really good security and precautionary efforts in place. Cyber attacks happen. I don't know if it's separated, but I would not be shocked if so, because you got to think about it, Richard. UMC serves, I think, 75,000 roughly patients every year. That's a lot of records.
Yeah.
They know that those are vital to not only the patients, but to the doctors and staff. So I don't have an answer for you, but as I said, my sources connected to UMC says there is a cyber attack. Now, how detrimental it will be, we'll keep you updated.
Well, if you didn't have a story to dominate your time today, you do now.
Always something new, Richard, and I love to share it with you, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate you popping in. That's JT Mitchell, news director with our SuperTalk Mississippi news team, giving you the update that his sources are saying there is indeed a cyber attack that has occurred this morning at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Details very limited at this point. Keep it locked in to supertalk.fm and all of our social media channels for updates on this throughout the course of the day as information becomes available. You know what would be a really cool thing to do on a Thursday? Hop in whatever vehicle you've got and scoot over to Belk Ford, Highway 6 West in Oxford, and get into a new car, truck, or SUV. Whether it's new or previously owned, great options for you and great people to deal with. I actually swung by earlier this week just to check in and say hi to the guys, and it was a busy, busy day. A lot of activity, a lot of movement. That's because financing rates are better than they have been. They've got some specials on the financing side, and as we've told you for a couple of weeks now, if you had a total loss of a vehicle as proclaimed by your insurance company, then you are eligible for employee pricing on the purchase of new vehicles from Belk Ford in Oxford. You can find them online at belkford.net and oxfordtoyota.com. Stop by and see them, Highway 6 West. Tell them you heard about them, that I sent you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. A couple of messages, C-Spire text line from inside UMMC. UMC is under a cyber attack. Our internet and phone systems are down. So that's from a listener on the C-Spire text line. Related to our previous conversation, I was on Loratabs twice a day before I got my medical marijuana card, and it took me a long time to get off of them. I'm clean on them now, and the medical marijuana helps tremendously more than the Loratab did. You know, it's interesting. A lot of the messages that we have gotten that have been supportive of or thankful for the medical marijuana program, the medical cannabis program in Mississippi, are people who seem to have had direct experience with it, offering firsthand perspectives of how it has worked for them. For the most part, the messages that we have gotten that are kind of minimalizing the effects, the positive effects of it, seem to be from people who have not dealt with it individually. Maybe they know somebody, maybe they have a family member that has, and like, it really doesn't work that well, or, this is just a waste, it's a scam, it's all about the money. Sounds for the most part like, to me, you have not dealt individually with chronic pain issues and seen relief from this program. Love having the conversations, love your interaction on the C-Spire text line. We're out of time today. For Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.